Here, getting ready to do my last closing of the year, and that little building right behind me, I'll give one of my attorneys a shout out real quick as soon as I change my goggles so I can see. But I'm doing this video today to talk about lead conversion, because that's one of the main things that you need within your business in order to run a successful real estate business, whether it's going to be real estate agency where you're listing properties and you're selling them, or whether it's going to be real estate as a real estate investor, as a wholesaler, as a buy and a hold investor, as somebody that does subject to, or somebody that does owner financing and wrap mortgages to owner finance on the back end on the way out. So lead conversion is key. We generate a lot of leads for ourselves and for other companies that are investors and agents as well. And the reason that this video popped to mind and I'm making it is because I had a client today call me and say, hey, listen, you guys generated me 40, I think it was 43 leads, and we didn't get any appointments out of it, and we're just going to cancel what you guys are doing for us at this point in time. So what I did was I picked up the phone and I personally called through about 10 of the leads. I set one appointment. I've got 3 good leads in there that want follow-up that are probably going to turn into listings for these people. But one of the major things that I wanted to talk about, and that's why this closing came to mind, because I'm closing on a little lot deal, right, was that what people are normally doing, and what you're doing in most cases, whether you believe you are or not, are pre-qualifying leads when they come into your business before you ever get out face-to-face. Face-to-face contact is going to be your absolute key to closing. And we've probably done $150,000 to maybe $200,000 worth of profit just in this market here because I didn't listen to what people told me over the phone, right? And what I mean by that is I didn't listen to them when they said, I need $200,000 for this property, when I knew I could only pay like 70 grand for it, or something silly like that, right? I didn't listen to any of it. So what I'm reaching out with this video to say is that your lead conversion needs to change. And there's a couple stories that I'll put in here too. I've got this closing in, it's 3:33 now, I've got this closing at 4:15, and don't ask me why it's 70 degrees in December in Virginia and why I have the top down, but that's just that's the situation that we're blessed with right now. So here's the deal. When you get a lead incoming, whether you got it from our cold calling efforts, your cold calling efforts, bandit signs, direct mail, pay-per-click, search engine optimization, whether you got it from a car wrap, whether you got it from a bus bench, whether you got it from Craigslist, whether you got it referred to you by somebody else and you're paying out a referral fee, anytime you get a lead in, you paid for that lead. Why are you pre-qualifying them by reading the notes that say, oh, well, they want $300,000. I know this property is only 100 grand, and wasting your time by saying, oh, I'm not going to run this lead, right? And you do it subconsciously, whether you think it or not. I've been in sales for 20 years now, and one thing that sales has taught me, and rising to the top in the sales fields that I've been in, is that you ignore everything that they say via email. You ignore everything that they say over the phone, because people have brass spines over the phone because it's a lot easier to shoo you off over the phone. And they're doing that, by the way, to every other person that talks to them, and they're getting rid of them in that way. So what I'm encouraging you to do is, when you get a lead, work it all the way through to the face-to-face contact for multiple reasons. So, and there's many reasons for that. And it's because when somebody says, hey, I need to sell my property, or I want to sell my property, they have a problem, and it's that they have a property that they need to get rid of, and either they need full market value for it, or they need to get out of it quickly and are willing to take a discount because of it. So to get in front of that person is your first step. I don't care what they say over the phone, again. So for example, this lead behind me here came in. I got this one off of a bandit sign, and they called in and they said, I've got a duplex for sale and I need to get this thing sold, and I've owned it for many years with my husband. My husband died. I want $200,000 for it. All right, problem is, why I made that face is because I typed into Google, as all of you do, the address, and the address tells me that the after repair value on this thing is like $160,000. So how am I going to give them $200,000 on a property that's worth $160,000 after I probably dropped $70,000 into it? So instead of doing what everybody else does, which is, oh, well, based upon what I'm seeing here, I'd only be able to offer you probably $40,000 or $50,000 for it. I said, great, sounds great. When can I come out and take a look at it? right? So I went out to this property, we sat down, we had a conversation. The duplex was in the shape that I thought it was in, but I found out by being there that they had another lot separate from this that was unbuildable, that I knew I could probably get through zoning appeals and get it buildable if I did it the right way. So I convinced them to put the lot into the deal, and we did not pay $200,000 for this deal. We paid $35,000 for the deal. We sold the duplex within about 2 weeks, and I sold that for $75,000. We exited after they paid the double end of the close. My buyers paid the double end of the close. We exited with a $40,000 profit on that, and we've got $25,000 coming out here in the deal behind me in about 40 minutes or so, something like that. So what did we end up making on that deal? About $65,000. So we got the thing for about 35. We're going to end up exiting for about 100 when it's all said and done. And that turns out very well, right? So I sold it, right? My back end, my exit on this deal was half of what they wanted for the deal. Similar situation in Powhatan earlier this year. We had a lead come to us from one of our cold calling campaigns that we run for ourselves, and we Googled the address again. The dude said I need 254 for my property. I remember this deal very well. And we Googled the address, and property after repair value is worth like 240. So, you know, most people would have ran from that, as did every wholesaler and every property investor in the county. Plus, it was out in like a little bit of a more rural area. Rural, that's a fun word to say. So it was a little bit more country. So I said, great. When can we come out to see it? That should be your only line when you're talking to people on the phone. I don't care whether they tell you they want $1 million for a property that you know is worth 200 grand. Great. When can I come out to see it? Is tomorrow at 11:15 or 2:45 going to work best for you? Always give them two choices and get out in front of them, and here's why. When you get out in front of them, whether you're an investor or you're an agent, you're going to have so many different ways to help them and at the same time make money with them. You can either A, refer it out to an agent, get a referral commission. B, refer it out to an investor if they don't want to list it to you, get a referral commission from them. You can send it out to your mortgage guy. You can send it out to your insurance guy. You can send it out to your contractor, right? So let's say I spend $5,000 and I make 50 leads for the month, and I work through all of those leads, and I refer a couple out to a couple contractors. I make 20% referral based upon the job that they do. Let's say they do a $10,000 job. I make $2,000 off of that job. Let's say I refer it out to a real estate agent. I'm going to make $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 off of my referral out to the agent, right? So stop thinking within this little teeny box of being a wholesaler or an investor. You're a problem solver when you go out to meet with these people. You're not confined to a little box, a little way of thinking. So find out how to solve their problem, whether it fits your direct business model immediately or not. But the only way to figure this out is to get out there. Also, the other thing is, when you get out in front of them, even if they don't want to let you refer them out, they don't want to let you buy their property, they absolutely can't stand what you're trying to offer them, who do they know? They know 30 people. They know 50 people. They know 100 people. Listen, Tiffany, or whatever the name is, Ms. Moore. Listen, Mrs. Moore, I really appreciate your time that you've taken with me today inside of your home. I appreciate you inviting me out to your house. I know that we don't have something that's going to fit your needs at this point in time based upon what you've told me. Who do you know in your family circle or in your school circle or in your church circle that's maybe considering selling a property as well? Get them to open up their phone for you. Get them to start scrolling through, getting names and numbers, and you'll walk out of each one of those appointments. If you've done your job right and you've built rapport with them, you'll walk out of each one of those appointments with 10 or 15 more leads. So teach yourself or teach your people that are going out in the field for you as acquisitions managers or as agents and you're their broker. Teach them to get in there, and even if the person doesn't want to do business with you in some way, shape, or form, build a rapport, make them like you, and then get them to give you their friends and family that you can serve as well. You have to monetize these leads. I would say if you ran every single lead, so let's say the 50 leads that went out to these people, if they ran every single one of those leads, or if they ran, let's say, just 40 of them, right, 80% of them, so if they ran just 40 of them, there's a way to make money, and they would have made money off of 10 of those leads, and they spent $5,000 or $6,000 or whatever it was to make those leads. If they can just make $2,000 a lead, they're making $20,000, $30,000, even just referring out to contractors or things like that. Stop thinking in a little box, right? There's another one. Also, before I go into this one, it pays to get in front of them whether they want to set an appointment or not. If they raise their hand and they say, I want to sell my property, I want to sell my property, but I don't want you to come to my house and talk to me about it. Does that mean don't go to their house and don't talk to them about it? No. Do a drive-by with these people, right? Go knock on their door. The business that you are in, I don't care whether you're a real estate investor, a real estate agent, you're selling widgets out of your little store, you're selling video games. Maybe you own, obviously you don't own a GameStop because those are all corporate, but maybe you own a video game store. Whatever business you're in sales. And it does not matter what you're selling, you're in sales. And sales is driven, in many cases, by face-to-face contact, especially in high-dollar items. Now, this is another one down on 36th Avenue or 36th Street, I believe, in Richmond here. And this dude told me, we called him, and he was like, look, I don't want to deal with a real estate investor. I've been called by 40 other real estate investors in the city. I don't want to talk to a real estate investor. I don't want to sell my house to a real estate investor. I want to get full market value, and I'm not going to list it with an agent either because I don't want to pay commission. Okay, great. So after that phone call, I really wanted that property because I knew where it was. It was in a high dollar area that's undergoing a lot of gentrification and a lot of renovations. And I know a lot of our buyers are looking for properties in that area. So we went and we found his home address, and we were driving by in the area that day and just decided to knock on the door about a week later and say, hey, I'm Lex, I'm with Global Elite Properties. Just wanted to stop by and say hi. I was in the area. I know we talked on the phone the other day, and you said you really didn't want to deal with a real estate investor, but I wanted to stop by and just introduce myself and maybe spend a little bit of time talking to you about how I could potentially help you with your property that's been sitting vacant for the past 3 or 4 months. Would you just talk to me while I'm here? Again, brass spinal cords over the phone. As soon as I got in front of him, melts like butter. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know who you were over the phone. It's very difficult for me to judge people over the phone. I've been called by 40 other people. You're the first one to show up at my house, right? So we ended up purchasing that one for like 35. We sold it for 75, exited for 40,000 profit. Again, a double close. Buyer paid both ends of the closing, and out we go. Similar story down on Barton here in Richmond this year. I was driving through a neighborhood. This is how I got this lead. I'm driving through a neighborhood. I see 2 dudes on the corner chatting, and I pull over. Hey, I'm Lex. I'm looking for properties in the area. Know anybody selling? They said, yes, that dude right over there, he's selling this house. So I said, oh, great. Would you mind introducing me to that dude right over there, since you know him and I don't, and it would be really weird for me to knock on the door. Now, would I have knocked on the door if they said, no, I'm not going to introduce you? Yeah, absolutely. But a warm introduction is a lot easier. So we knocked on the door, talked to the dude, and he was like, yeah, I want to sell the property, but I want to sell it for $350. Guess what? I can only pay like $180 for it, top dollar. So instead of running away like everybody else would have done and saying, hey, listen, I could probably pay you $150 for this thing, and having him really pissed off at me when I left, just like every other wholesaler that had knocked on his door, because he said he had walked like 7 or 8 people through the house that were wholesalers, and all of them spent like 10 minutes in the property. They walked it through, they did their repair estimate, and then they said, here's what I can offer you. And guess what all of their offers were? $150 to $200. Did he like those? No. So anyway, I spent about 2 hours with the guy walking through the property, talking to him about his experiences in New York, and he used to be an engineer, and then he was a teacher, and then he was this, and then he was that. The dude had like 5 different careers. Very interesting guy. And I spent a lot of time just talking to him on a personal level, and 2 hours that any other investor would have said waste of time, right? Because the dude wants $350 and I got to buy it for $150, maybe $180, right? So anyway, 6 months later, this guy calls me up, and I've got his phone number saved in my phone because I knew I was going to get that property at some point, because I know what people can pay for that property, and I know they're not going to pay much more than me. So, and I told him, I said, listen, when you come to a point where you're ready to actually sell the property, and your family, because he told another reason that he was stalling is that he wanted to see if his family would buy it, which is fine. So he calls me up and he said, hey, Lex, I got this property still for sale. I'm ready to be realistic. And I said, great. What's realistic? And he said, well, I need $200,000 out of it. I said, listen, I can do maximum top dollar on this property. I can do $180. I'm looking at 2 properties right now. One of them's yours. Now it is, because you just called me. One of them is one that I need to move on tomorrow morning because the owner's putting some pressure on me. I'm going to buy one of them. I'll give you $180 for it. I can sign the contract tonight. I can be at your house in 35 minutes. And he said, no, I got to talk to another 4 or 5 investors and tell them that, you offered me, just like every one of them do. I'm going to tell them that you offered me this and see what they can do. I said, listen, you can chase the birds in the bush all you want, but you've got a bird in your hand right now. And I will be at your house in 30 minutes with paperwork filled out for you to sign. And we're going to sign it tonight, or I'm going to have to move on this other property in the morning. And he said, okay, come to my house. So I came to his house, got it for $180, sold it for $220. Because why? Because I didn't, number one, I spent the time with him, right? I spent 2 hours with him where everybody else, 7, 8 other investors came through the property, probably rookie wholesalers that don't know sales very well. But they spent 10 minutes with him. They did repair estimates, right? And they told him what they could pay for it. They didn't spend the time to get to know him, why he was selling, why he was putting off selling, and what his motivations were. You've got to treat your business as a sales organization, because it is. And you've got to get in front of every single one of these people. Every single one of them. Again, I don't care whether they tell you they want $1 million for a $200,000 property. They know as well as you know. They absolutely know that they're not going to get $1 million for that property. So they're just telling you that because they're scared of telling you no. So they just tell you some ridiculous number because they've found in the past that if they throw a ridiculous number out there, people go away. They want you to go away because they're scared of being sold. And selling is just helping people. So they're scared of somebody getting in front of them with a solution that solves their problem that they're going to act on. And because of it, they've learned the triggers that they need to use to get people to go away. Either by saying no, or by cussing at them, or by saying, no, my property is not for sale unless you give me $1 million more than it's worth. That's how they get people to go away, because they're scared that somebody's going to provide them with a solution that's going to solve their problems, and then they're going to move forward and have to make a decision. So get in front of every single one of them. Every single one of them. The phone is both the most important tool that you have in your business and also worthless. And here's why. It's the most important tool that you have in your business because it drives people to you. But it's also worthless because you cannot make that deal over the phone. Phones are not meant for negotiating. Phones are meant for one thing, and that's to drive face-to-face contact. Email is to drive phone contact or face-to-face contact. You're always trying to drive one step up the ladder of interpersonal communication. If you can't handle a face-to-face sales situation, you shouldn't be in business. Phone is the most important thing in your business, and it's also worthless unless you use it effectively. If you use it to pre-qualify and pre-screen people, you're costing yourself money. Again, we've made probably $150,000 or $200,000 this year just in this little market, an additional profit that if we had pre-qualified over the phone, we wouldn't have hit. But we just said this, and these should be your words that you use over the phone every time you talk to somebody. Great, sounds good. When can I come out to take a look at the property? 11:15 tomorrow, or does 2:45 work best for you? With that, I'm out. Oh, I told you that I would drop this guy if you're in the Virginia markets. Also, he's got a title company. He closes, I know it looks like a little rinky-dink office, but he closes deals in like 6 or 7 different states because he's got title companies. His name's Curtis Gordon, and I've used him on probably 6 or 7 closings this year. I normally use him when I'm closing with a specific buyer set because they use him as well. But he's fantastic. I just found out this morning from one of our clients that he closes in like 6 or 7 different states. So if you're looking for a fantastic real estate attorney, Curtis Gordon at Dankos and Gordon is going to be a good reach out. Even if you're in another state, maybe give him a buzz and say, hey, do you do property closings in our state? And he may say yes to that. So if you have any questions also about how we run our appointment setting or how we run our, when I have people call out from my business to set appointments for us to go buy properties, feel free to just send me a message on here. I'll be happy to answer them. But the running theme is always going to be get in front of everybody, because when there is a seller there, there's a way to profit while helping them. And if you go out there with the intention to help them, not only will you feel great about yourself at the end of the day, but you're also going to find a way to make a profit. Thanks. I'm out.